welcome to the Good Life Mindful Mondays with Iya Kemi. How is everyone doing today? I see some familiar faces. I see some new names. I am totally looking forward to today's session. It's been 2 weeks and we are now back together again. We have had an amazing little break, and we are now in a wonderful portal, which we call the Lionsgate portal. And today is 8/8. It's a very, very powerful day for mindfulness and meditation and bringing in those things that you want to bring into existence with gratitude. 8/8, or this Lionsgate portal, is when the star in the sky, Sirius, reaches its highest point, and it aligns with the sun, which is the other brightest star in the sun in the sky, because we all know that the sun is very bright. We all see it no matter where we are. So this is a time that I want us to make an intention to align with our highest self. A lot of the times we get up and we just get to going on this, what we call a rat race, and we don't take the time to set our intentions for the day. Some of us may do it the night before, but some of us may not do it at all. So I wanted to explore what intention really means. And I normally, those that are new to this class, I start with an intention all the time, because we are collectively coming together and we are collectively sharing space. So the words that we want to put in the space may help another person, or it may be something that we can support you in by having the, again, simple intention to be united in this moment, time, and space. So I would like to put my word of intention in the space, and I want to put in alignment, so that we can all understand that the importance of intention is to align you with your higher purpose. Now, if you're just going on about your day and you're just kind of on this rat race, then you might not remember your intention as to why you came to this earth, because we all had a purpose. So with the familiar faces, if you feel comfortable in going first and sharing your intention, so we can kind of guide the way for those who are new with us. And I normally don't call names because I'm not a teacher, but I am a teacher, and we're not in school though. We're not in elementary. But I do notice that we have our first word after alignment, which is balance. Thank you, Ms. Gloria, for sharing your word. Balance is definitely key in order for us to be in alignment with our intentions. Is there anyone else? Lovely to see you, Miss Adams. I missed you the last class we came together, so it's a pleasure seeing your beautiful face as always. And then if you don't want to actually put your mic on or your camera on, please feel free to put it in the chat box, so that we can collectively, again, support one another on this moment and this intention. So I can hold space for you, because I'm very mindful of your time and you are here. So I want to make it worthwhile for you. If anyone would like to share, just kindly unmute your mic. Free. Thank you so much for sharing that, Miss Cynthia. Yes. Freedom is a beautiful thing. When you freely set your intentions, you're able to find the balance and align yourself. That is absolutely true. I love that freedom word. Would anybody else like to share?
I would.
Thank you.
I love all of those words, balance and feeling free, but I think for me, my word is power, just really acknowledging and recognizing and honoring my own divine power and how that works with everyone around me. So that would be my word for today.
Now that is an absolutely beautiful intention, because a lot of us do not understand the power that we possess and the light that we carry and our purpose here. So to understand even your own power, a lot of the times we aren't aware, so therefore our light might blind people, or our heaviness, depending on where we are. Because again, our power can be weak, it can be strong, it could be in the middle and aligned and free and balanced. But it's the awareness and the intention of understanding every time you step out, the power that you possess, because again, we are one with the Creator. So if we understand that we are co-creating with the one that is the creator of many, many names, no matter what culture or tradition or whatever you practice, we are still aligned with that purpose and that understanding that we are a gift and we have purpose. So I love that power. Awesome. We definitely need some more power to charge ourselves up for the remainder of this year. Is there anyone else that would like to share?
You said it earlier in the word purpose itself.
I love that, purpose. So we have purpose, power, balance, and alignment. And is there anyone else that would like to share?
Love and acceptance.
Ooh, I love love. Cannot go wrong with love. Thank you for sharing that. To have that intent to love and accept others for who they are and the power that they have allows freedom for us to be balanced and aligned with our own purpose. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I think we have two more people that if you feel free to share again, you don't have to unmute. If you want to just put it in the chat, that would be great. So we can support you again on what your purpose or desire is and what brought you and what your intent was today. I see Miss Edith.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. I think in terms of like posture or keeping my back straight or my spine, maybe to alignment, I think of spine and that's a good thing because I tend not to stand up straight. So I think that to me is a reminder that I can do that. So
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful thing that you shared spinal alignment because that has a lot to do with courage and confidence. So a lot of the times we forget that we are rooted, you know, we're just like the tree. Our spine is just like the tree. But when we connect with the roots of ourself and not allow our experiences to make us waver or feel like we're about to break or bend or what have you, just like the palm tree, it sways. It sways with nature. So sometimes we have to see ourselves as a palm tree to know that we will never be broken. None of our past experiences were to necessarily break us, but it was supposed to align us and bring an understanding to our purpose, our power, our love, and accepting ourselves with courage, confidence, and be free. So I really appreciate you sharing that. We have someone that brought in another word or affirmation to affirm to accept changes. Now, change is a very interesting word. The vibration of change sometimes can bring a little disruption in our body. I'm one that studies words because words they're vibrations. So when you look at the word change and the origin of the word change, it actually means to deceive. So we have to be conscious of why we would like to deceive ourselves in thinking we can change something versus allowing and experiencing, evolving and growing. Now, there are things that we can change about ourselves that we don't like, but are we deceiving ourselves when we are saying that? So we can make the conscious intention to accept the shifts that comes in our lives. So instead of changes, it could be shifts or new experiences. Because again, when we're mindful of words and how they can have an effect on ourselves, we begin to evolve in how we speak to our own bodies and to others. So again, I appreciate that word. I think we have one more person. I want to make sure that they are on because I don't like to ignore. And I don't want to mispronounce the name, but I want to hold space for them. Kokoye, I believe is the name. So I'm acknowledging you and just welcome you to the space, although you may not be able to turn on your video or add into the chat. So in looking at this, intention, a lot of the times we, again, start the day without intention. My advice when it comes to intention is always good to write your to-do list the night before. Because in writing the night before, you've already set your mind up for your next day. You've already set your mind up of how you want to move within the next 24 hours, because again, you're going into your dream state, your state where your body is relaxing. But the last thing it is going to remember is whatever you're looking at, writing, thinking, speaking, or hearing. So I'm very mindful about what I do before I go to bed. And it always seems that when I write my to-do list the night before, I get those things done. When I try to do it first thing in the morning, I'm a little bit scrambled, but sometimes that works out for people. The other thing with intent is being intentful in our own self-care. Because some people think it's a challenge to take the time, and we only think of the outer appearance, but we never think of the internal aspect of ourselves. So the intention is to always, as Miss Phyllis shared with us, love and acceptance. If we start off with love, then it can make our day easier. And when someone may do something like cut us off on the road, all we can say is, oh, peace, I accept, that's where you are. I'm not there. Love you. I understand my power. I won't be moved by that. Because we've already set the intention to walk in love, to walk in alignment, and walk in our power without distractions from outside things and people. Just like the things that we look on TV. There's some symbols and colors that restaurants use, i.e. most food places are reds and yellows, because that desire, that root chakra, and that solar and other chakra that's around your belly, you're going to be hungry. So they knew that those colors are going to get you to come to them, fight or flight. So being mindful, even the animals and birds, trees, insects, what is around you? Oftentimes we start our day and we don't even acknowledge the type of plant or flower that is sitting right out of our building. We don't take the time to even smell the roses, as they say. In taking this time out with nature, it allows you to be present in the now. When we don't have an intent to commune with nature, then the human nature of us will go to whatever's been programmed in our lives, whether it's trauma, whether it's the education system, whether it's the relationships we've been through and the experiences that we've been through. So in our daily walk, again, we have to be mindful and set intent. I kind of want to get a little bit more from how everyone is feeling with these words with intent, and if they have a practice that includes intention in their daily or weekly or monthly, yearly planning. And what does that look like? Because you may have a routine or a method that can be beneficial to the next person. I shared mine with writing my intents the night before, as well as being intentful of what flies around me. I can now hear the buzz of a hummingbird when it passes me now, because I've aligned myself with that energy and I'm able to identify it when I'm in nature. And I know what it means for me. It reminds me of my father, because we called him Jaybird, and he loved hummingbirds. So how would you like to share your word of, or how intention works for you and aligns with any of the words that we shared? And then we'll do a 15-minute meditation so that we can support whatever you want to manifest for the next 4 months, the duration of this year into 2023. Because I'm into numbers and I know that we are in a year of harmony and community. And next year is all going to be about spirituality, the number 7. So we're individually going to be going through our own spiritual evolution and collectively. So how do we be mindful of that? And then how do we support one another? So if anyone wants to share the space is open to do so. And then we'll go into a meditation to support what it is you want to manifest on this Lionsgate portal. This beautiful, beautiful portal, this high day of energy and meditation and gratitude. I'm gonna play the Jeopardy sound as people think, as people consider what to share and what not to share. With a hold, I think I'm gonna go into the meditation and see what you guys come out with then. Because there's a thought process happening here. And sometimes we overthink. Sometimes we kind of overthink things. And so I want us to go with the flow, just like the river. The river that is still is not producing anything, but a river that flows teaches you how to flow with it and not against it. The richness in the soil of a river is just as rich as your experiences that you have had in life. So you have to look at those things as bliss or blessings, to be grateful because it's gotten you here today to see this beautiful portal of Lionsgate. It's got you to today to share your light with the next person with you, next to you. And you can also use reactions. You can also unmute. It's in the lower right hand of your screen if you want to share anything. And welcome, Alana. Good seeing you. I love the hair. I love the hair. All righty. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as we go into a quick 15-minute meditation. If you want to get in your comfortable space, you can also stop your video if you want. You can close your eyes, just as long as you are comfortable. You will hear various sounds in nature. I want you to allow your breath to go below your heart. I want it to drop past the heart and go into your belly, with your belly expanding. If you need to place your hand on the heart and your other hand on the belly to tap into your heart space, because again, the heart space is where we should be coming from, out of love. And in doing so, you can definitely feel your belly expand. And then hold it as long as you can. If not, continue to go through those breaths. Feeling your heartbeat, feeling the energy of your breath going up your spine to your brain and back down your brain down to your spine, giving you the support that you need. Go ahead and let's try to share again with sound. Continue with your breaths as you align with the love, the balance, gratitude, all of those things that we are here to do. Allow yourself to come back in to whatever space you were in. Connecting with everyone here. And when you are ready to come back into the space, seems we may have had some people that had issues with the sound that was coming straight from the computer. So I'm not sure if it was everyone, but I wanted to bring us back in case that was the case. Take your time. Feel what that felt like, even if it was choppy. How did that affect your ability to focus and accept changes? To still try to align with the moment. Aligning with the moment. Because sometimes our intentions may be pure, but sometimes things don't go according to how we plan. We'll still have some people adjusting. If there's anyone that wants to share their experience, so we can kind of walk through what that felt like for you, what the intention was that we set, and did it disrupt any of those intention words that we put into the space? Because I know that sound can throw people off balance. And sometimes things, again, don't go according as to plan. And we definitely tested out sound before coming on. So hopefully it wasn't a collective thing. Ms. Gloria, I see that you have unmuted. Would you like to share your experience and what you feel about intention?
My intention was to relax, pay attention to my breathing. I love the water sound because I use some water sound sometimes as I'm going to sleep. The other sounds are okay. And it was fading in and out. And I just kept telling myself, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not to get off track.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what happens sometimes. I start focusing on what isn't happening instead of just being, I think. So I enjoyed it.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, the wind chimes can be a bit, that's what it was playing. And the elements that were playing were fire and air. I tried to balance things out because we were looking at earth and water. And so the other elements are part of who we are. And so in that, it can kind of bring some colliding there. And it takes more focus and paying attention to our intent. So Ms. Gloria, I truly appreciate you making the statement on staying focused, even in the disruption of what may have not been comfortable in the moment, because that is key when it comes to mindfulness. Things may not be comfortable and it may not go, according to. And I always say EIP, as one of my coaches said, everything is still perfect. EIP. So I'll tell myself EIP, like I can't control a computer. I'm a human. My hands weren't touching anything. The tests were done and everything, the intent was set. However, how do I flow and still ensure that those that I'm connected to, how they felt and how to process that feeling versus and going on about the day, then you're not acknowledged. So I have to see and not deceive myself in thinking that, oh, that was great. That was perfect. Nah. Somewhere in there, someone may not have agreed with anything that was done. And I'm okay with that. To hear that allows me to, because again, I set the intent and I do want to evolve. So hearing constructive criticism or constructive words or another perspective, because criticism is kind of a harsh word and it can bring up trauma. So I would rather say a person's perspective, because then that gives me another perspective to look at things a bit differently and know that I'm not always right. I'm always growing, learning. I really don't know nothing, to be honest. I just know to trust my spirit and trust love and to keep learning and growing in this playground that we call Earth.
Yeah.
So
One other thing, the
again,
picture was
appreciate
really
you sharing
helpful.
that, Miss Gloria. That is very, very, thank you. That I definitely wanted to get something to, we tried that the last group, and I think that that really helps, because visual, that's a vibration, especially when you see color, you know, and then you see the river versus hear it, you know, because we're visual and we're people who feel. So we feel through our eyesight. As I said, you know, food companies, they have those lovely colors that make us run to McDonald's, Wendy's, Jack in the Box. All three of them have the same colors in their logo, but they knew what they were doing when they did that. You know, and again, the red goes to your root chakra, and we call that the fight or flight, the survival chakra, where we do things out of without intent. We just go from 0 to 60 fast without taking the time to process how it feels, where it sits in my heart before I speak, and then allowing my thought process to come into my heart and align to then speak, right? So it's a process, and we have to allow that space. Miss Martha, I see that you unmuted. Would you like to share with us?
Yeah, well, water is not my thing. So when we first started into it, I had to shift my thinking, and I made it a downpour, which was more acceptable to me. And then I was able to relax and get into the flow of things.
I love that. You said it was like a downpour. Was it like a washing over you?
The rain, I saw
love
it as rain rather than the ocean.
I love that share. That's a beautiful thing, because truth be told, some people like rain, some people don't like the ocean. I mean, they're all elements of water, but it's some things about certain parts. Some people may like the river more than they like the ocean, or vice versa. So I like that you were intentful and you changed and shifted your perspective to allow it to work for you and to find the beauty in it still, to give you the peace of mind in order to relax and enjoy the moment and the purpose of why we're here. So I appreciate that. Miss Cynthia, thank you for sharing how the picture in the water, everything was serene and how everything was beautiful and aligned for you. That was my intent when I chose it, because again, oftentimes we don't go with the flow of life. And the river always reminds me to go to the flow, because a river is always going to find its path. If it gets stuck, a tree branch falls in it, it's going to go right around that tree branch, right around that piece of trash, and it's still going to find its endpoint. And oftentimes we forget that. We allow a tree branch to stop us and we get stuck in that little whirlpool that's in the corner, but not even realizing that that whirlpool is still flowing. Even with the branches and the trees and the trash and whatever else may be in the river, it's still going to find its way. So we have to allow ourselves to still be grounded and find our way. Water goes over a stone. You guys remember rock, paper, scissors? When you were younger, tapping into that inner child self and realizing that you are made of majority water. So you should flow just like water, but we don't. Television and all those different frequencies, especially if you live in the city, it's noisy. You can barely hear your thoughts. So this is why it's good to take 15 minutes out. Not even, we did 10 minutes, if that, 5 minutes, and just say, I'm going to disconnect. Let me listen to some nature sounds for a moment. I like the sound of birds. Let me find birds on YouTube. YouTube is the second search engine in the world. It has everything. So whatever you may need to help you come into peace, it is there. And I always tell people, fall asleep to it if you're having trouble sleeping. If the rain soothes you, if the ocean soothes you, if the sound of babbling water soothes you. So you have to get to intentionally know who you are and what you love by paying attention to the simple things in life. Miss Alana, I see that you've unmuted. Would you like to share with us today?
Yeah, it's really interesting that, everyone is finding the serenity in water, and I'm just the opposite because here in Florida, we have these horrible afternoon severe thunder showers. So while y'all are finding peace in listening to the water, I'm listening and I'm saying to myself, oh God, more water. Jeez, because there's always thunder and lightning that comes with it. It's almost like clockwork around 1 o'clock, 1:30, my time. Thunder, lightning. Oh my gosh, I wonder, do I need to pull stuff in? So I think chaos. That's what I think. I don't think I'm so serene, like my little baby dog, my grand dog, right? that is happy to see me. But still, it's like I don't think I hear that flowing brook, but you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that water is going over jagged rocks. And if somebody was in like a little what do you call it? A tube, inner tube, they would hit a rock, and then they'll probably end up seeing that dark cloud over there. Isn't that just so pessimistic?
Well,
I'm sorry, I didn't find the sunshine.
Well, I can only imagine with hurricanes and all kind of stuff that happen in Florida that it creates this traumatic experience, right?
It does.
So sometimes we have to change our perspective and kind of use that energy to our advantage. So I just would implore you that possibly you can say each time that happens is that it's clearing any negative energy away from you so that you can have the confidence and courage to move forward in things that you want to do. Because the thing about it, or
it keeps me alert so that nothing catches me off guard. And that's how I think.
I like that as well. I like that thought process as well, but it definitely can shift the energy versus water. Because it made me think, first of all, the first thought that came to mind was, well, how much water do you take in a day? Are you a heavy water drinker or are you not? Because most people that are agitated by the water, you have to look at how does that play out in replenishing yourself? How often do you replenish yourself? Because again, we're majority water. So if we're agitated by water, water has no enemy. It's essential to drinking, it's essential to life, it's essential to bathing, it's essential to everything. So if we're agitated about it, how can we shift the perspective to see how that aligns with our spiritual being or our, because this vessel, we have to take care of it, And so sometimes nature is trying to get us to align with things, the first thing I think of Florida and that whole area is the ancestors that did not make it over for many of us that are on this call or this Zoom, so it brings a different type of peace for me, which I understand it, again, being in Hurricane Central, that can be a bit traumatic, but I just implore you, just allow that to be a moment of alignment to stay focused, as you said, and to be alert.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing so much. Is there anyone else who would like to share? Miss Adams, we have Miss Edith. And then we have.
Well, for me, the water was freeing. It was full of life. And to see the greenery around it and to hear the flow of the water hitting the rocks and to see the cascading, it all represented life to me, which reminds me of the word purpose I had for intent. Because when I wake up in the morning, first thing I do is pray. And then I look out the window at trees. There's some redwood trees outside my window. So I'm able to see nature and commune with nature that way, to hear the squirrels and the birds flitting around. So my purpose in a day is organized. So the flow of the water was like organized for me. It was flowing from one point to the other, but it was continuous.
Yes, and that is very true. Consistency is key. You know, as you said the word continuous in the space. That's the first word that came up, consistency. So in what ways do we allow ourselves to be consistent with ourselves, our own self-care practice? Again, because if we're here, again, we have to take care of ourselves first and be consistent in those things that we want to manifest and bring into existence. If we can't do that with ourselves, then we can't have the expectation of anyone else to be consistent. So in what ways, you know, does that work? How are we continuously allowing a particular experience or thing to take us off of our path versus flow with our path? You know, again, back to mindfulness and knowing what we feel, when we feel, why we feel, versus putting energy in motion based off of those feelings, especially if it doesn't feel good. If it doesn't feel good, sometimes we just shut down versus saying, well, why do I feel this way? How can I let this go to really just enjoy the rest of my day? Because really, was it that serious for me to just stop what I was doing because a person cut me off on the road? Because if you start your morning off fussing at the person that cut you off, just see how the rest of your day kind of flows. It might be in shambles, it might not. You might be able to rebring and align yourself because you've said, you know what, I'm good. That was just a little bump in the road today. Send them away with love. And smile. Again, because this is a playground. Sometimes we get serious and we forget our childlike nature and having fun. Miss Edith, would you like to share? I think I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I felt clean and I felt kind of refreshed. There were times when I was unable to focus, but there was a cleansing feel to it.
I love that. That is what water actually does. And again, it is free. It allows you to be present by hearing the simple sound of water, simple sound of nature. It's just nature. Oftentimes we shut it out because again, we're so used to noise, you know, whether it's the washer, the dryer, the television's on in the background. You can hear the neighbors next door. You can hear, if you're in a path of an airport, like me, I hear planes, you know, and sometimes we have to disconnect, or if we can't physically take ourselves, why not bring nature to us? Some of us do not live by the water. Some of us do not live by a wooded area. So sometimes we have to visualize it if we can't have the vision, because some people, when they close their eyes, all they see is dark. But that's because their energy has been blocked by experiences, heartache, trauma, or what have you. So when we begin to align ourselves with sounds of nature or wearing particular colors, because I'm very big on the vibration of even color and the colors that we wear. I try not to wear a lot of black because black absorbs the energy around you. So oftentimes a white is more reflective. It's bright. And we don't think of that because we go to funerals wearing black. Everybody is sad and everybody is in you know, a very low vibrational moment versus a high vibrational moment, and you know, really celebrating life because someone has had an experience and they came and they left. We all know that we have one day that we come and God knows the day that we leave. Everything else in between, we can co-create. But it's the human brain, human nature. The brain is the first computer, the first programmable thing. So sometimes we have to reprogram and be intentional when we reprogram our minds so that we can tap into that freedom that is here. Heaven on earth is not just a statement, it's reality once we allow it to be that. Is there anyone else? And it's good to see you. We have two Phyllises today, and I love that. That's a beautiful thing. It's good to see you, Miss Phyllis. I didn't acknowledge you. And good seeing you, Miss Flora. I don't see your face, but I see your name. And I'm one that likes to acknowledge the energy that is in the space because you are part of the collective intent that we are setting today. So I thank you for that. Is there anyone else that would like to share? We're kind of coming down to the last 12 minutes and wanted to see if anyone wanted to share what we reviewed last week or any other shares. Hi, we have a new face. I see the face now. Greetings. Hello.
What you just said about what the previous speaker said about consistency. And so for me, what I'm taking away today, my name is Coco Ye, I'm sorry.
Coco Ye, so I did say it right.
You did. Am I consistent with my own self-care practices? That resonated with me when you talked about making a to-do list the night before. I'm one who tries everything, but I have a lot of difficulty with being consistent, staying with something. And so that's the question that I'm going to ask myself. Am I consistent? Well, I know the answer to that, I am not, but then why not? You know, am I trying every new thing appeals to me. And so I have to try it and change from whatever. So thank you. Thank all of you for that, because that's what I will look at. And I've done the night before to-do list and I enjoyed that. But then something else came along and distracted me. So thank you so much.
It happens. I totally appreciate you sharing, because that is reality. You know, we could say one thing. I started writing my list last night and I realized I was writing for the week. I said, okay, that's a little bit too much. You didn't put like 20 things on one day. Why would you do that to yourself? And we oftentimes do that because we're thinking long-term and short-term at the same time. So that's why it's good sometimes to say, okay, this month I'm going to do these things, and then break those things down to days and say, okay, this day I'm only going to put 3 things on my list. And if I happen to finish those 3 things early, then I can flow into other things that I said I would like to do. But we also don't give ourselves grace. We also feel like we have to keep up an 8-hour work schedule even after we retire from where we work, because we went to school for 8 hours a day. So we have this thought process that 8 hours, I have to be busy. No, you don't, especially when you retire. You know, you have to take your time off, because then if you think of it, your weekends become 8-hour shifts and you don't really sit down. You don't really breathe. You don't really relax. You don't go into nature. Don't take yourself to the park. We forget about that because we're like, oh, we got all these errands to get done on Saturday, and Sunday, maybe I can relax. No. Sometimes you got to say no. And you got to say yes to self. It's the hardest thing because, again, we've been programmed with these beautiful brains that we have to believe that we have to have and keep an 8-hour work shift. We have to keep this load of things to do. And we don't.
I have a question. So should we maybe the night before, when we start doing our like to-do list, because I'm a list person. I love lists. I love checking them off. You know, you check off, you always feel like you accomplished something. You know, it's just something about swiping it or checking it or Xing it makes you feel good. But should I write the intent?
Absolutely.
That single word. What is my intent? Is it relaxation? That's the intent. That's the reason why I'm doing the list, or is it? So are you saying that? So at the top of my list, I have that single word or phrase, or that's my question.
That is a beautiful question, and I would say yes. Because if you stick with that intent, then that is what is the power that fuels you to get it done. Because you intentionally, you set your intention. So as long as you stick to that and remind yourself, even while going down that checklist, okay, my intention was to do this. I want to complete these things so I can relax. Because again, I was faced with that challenge last night myself. And that's exactly what I had to do, because again, I started off with the whole week and I said, okay, no, you're overwhelming yourself. Why? For what? Because normally when we start our week at work, when we are working for other people, they're going to tell you what the week the plan is for the week. You're going to have a schedule of what the intent is. Your intent is either to sell shoes or put in documents or whatever that is. So if you can have it for an employer, why not have it for yourself? So thank you for that. That was a very, very, very excellent question. Are there any other questions or shares that anyone would like to put in this space? I think, Miss Gloria, I saw your finger go up at one moment. I'm not too sure if you still wanted to share.
Well, I had a question. I mean, sounds, colors, smells, and things like that, for some people could be a trigger. Is it
Absolutely.
okay to like use something else that may not trigger you?
Absolutely. That's a very, very, very good question. You would want to know what is your trigger to address why is it as a trigger first and foremost, because you want to get an understanding of what triggers you. So when it does trigger you, you know how to be mindful to not allow it to trigger you. Now, scents, for example, cigarette smoke, it kind of triggers me. But at the same time, it helps me to remember a family member who is no longer around and give honor to them versus me be irritated, agitated. So I've turned something that was once negative to me into a positive. Even if I didn't like that relative smoking cigarettes, it still puts a smile on my face because I made the intention to not think of it as a negative. The other thing that you can do is replace the scent with another scent. I normally carry some type of frankincense or some type of spray that if I'm in public and I might smell a scent that doesn't agree with my being, I'll pull it out and I'll spray it, or I'll put lavender in and go ahead and bring myself back so that I don't go to that space of trauma. Color, again, you want to, of course, figure out why is color affecting you. If it is a color, it may be tied to one of your sacral, your chakras that are blocked within your body. So if you don't care for the color green, then there's something within the heart space that you want to work on and clear. If it's red and it triggers you, red is already an alerting color. That's why they use it for stop signs and warning signs. However, your root chakra, are you really rooted and grounded? You know, even if there's various variations of that color, because I could say red as an artist, I'm going to see various colors of red. I'm not going to just, I might see red, orange, pink, red, purple, red. It's all of those things. So if it's a specific color, even look up the meaning of that color, because now you're becoming mindful of why that color may trigger you. And then replace it with white, because again, white is the purest of all colors. It's the brightest, it's, you know, it's considered to be the cleanest. But that's why I refrain from certain words and calling people of color those colors, because I understand the connotations that come with those words. But I also understand the energy and the vibration. Does that help, Miss Gloria?
It does a lot, but I was thinking about people that I know when sometimes we can have a traumatic experience, you know, like rape or accidents or whatever. And in those instances, we kind of take in different things.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I was kind of, but this is helpful. I mean, you know,
that what you're speaking of, for me, if it's something of that nature, I go back to an inner child and I speak to that version or that time frame. So I would say that, you know, that has happened. And I go through a series of understanding my intent is to heal that aspect of myself and no longer hold on to the trauma that it created. And I lovingly understand that whoever did that said trauma or applied that trauma to my life, what trauma did they go through to even have the audacity or the idea or the inkling to do something that way? Because they too may have had that happen to them, and therefore they didn't know any better, which goes
Right.
back to the acceptance of things. And sometimes that can be hard. You know, that acceptance thing can be really hard in that aspect when it comes to healing trauma. But it is the understanding that, you know, we are here present now versus the past. And we sometimes have to remind our younger selves, you know, that it actually made you stronger in some points, and try not to make you bitter. You know, because I too have experienced some trauma, and I had to go through a series of different things like talking to the inner child and forgiving the people that may have caused that trauma.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. Is there anyone else that would like to share before we close out? Okay, well, I appreciate all the new faces. I hope this was delightful for you just as it was for me. I hope it provided some support in what it is that you intentionally came for today. I hope that you continue to be aligned and have gratitude with your purpose and power to be free in love and accept the changes and flow, and have the courage and confidence to continue to be mindful and take time for yourself and love on yourself. If you don't have any other things that you would like to share, we will be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, because I think we're going to adjust some things coming after September. But as of now, I will see you in 2 weeks. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week, because you have already set the intention of how you would like to move forward this week by starting it off with Mindful Mondays. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your energy. I truly appreciate and acknowledge you all, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.